How do I want to say what?
What we gotta say?
What?
Love
What?
and
What?
lifestyle.
That sounds about right. I know I'm blessed.
Me too.
You know what I'm saying? Sometimes you got to be a fan for the one you love.
That's right.
Man,
y'all better and stand for your
y'all better start being a fanatic. When you're a fan, you can't be no fair weather fan. I'm a Laker fan, and if they losing or winning, I'm riding with them, and that's how I am by my boo.
That's true.
I'm a fan of Danielle. So if we may have a tough season, and we may not be winning that little season, I'm gonna remind myself of when we were winning championships.
That's right.
And that's how that's what the world respects. So man, be a fan of your girl. Women, be a fan of your man. That's right. What puts love back in. You want to really know how we enjoy our marriage? We're fans of each other.
Yeah, for sure.
Like we take that thing serious. I don't want no man to roll up on Danielle and give her more compliments to me. I don't want no man to roll up on Danielle and be more of a fan than I am. Nope. I won't. We had a solid engagement. Temptation seemed like it started to get a little stronger with wanting to fornicate, definitely for sure, right? It's like when you can see the light at the end of the tunnel, sometimes it's hard crawling into that finish line, but we were able to do it. We crawled into the finish line.
Scratching and
we made it, and we got married in July 30th, 2005. And so we got married July 30th, 2005. Now have been married for 15 years, going on 16 years. So Marriage. Now we're back to marriage.
And so I was saying earlier that Howard was working, I think the night shift and I was working the day shift.
Yeah.
So we only had a few hours in our new marriage to see each other. And so we could have, honestly, in the beginning, it was like a bummer, but Howard made it a big point. It was like a whole campaign of like, let's maximize our time together.
For sure.
Even if we only had an hour or two, we were going to maximize it. We weren't going to spend it nitpicking. We weren't going to spend it arguing. We were going to spend it enjoying our time. And where we lived at the time, there wasn't much to do. So we were like walking around Target and Barnes and Noble every day of the day. but that was like our first, marital, like, hiccup, I guess, is not being able to see each other a lot.
Right.
When you get married, you think like, oh yeah, we're both going to work 8 to 5. We're going to come home, work out. We're going to cook dinner together. It's going to be so romantic. Going to sleep at the same time.
Oh my gosh, that's so true.
Yeah, life's just going to be so perfect. We get to live together, whatever. And it doesn't
work out that way. Yeah, life is definitely not linear.
It's not.
There's a lot going on. That's funny. You bring up preconceived notions.
Yeah, because it's true. I mean, you just, things just seem like it's just going to get so much perfecter when you get married, and it just doesn't happen. It's almost like the enemy like throws in all of the coal, like, okay, it's official. Let me like give him some tests now. A couple months into our marriage, we decided, based on Howard's degree in radio, TV, film, that we would start our first business together.
Before we start the business,
what?
I gotta stay with your preconceived notions real quick.
Okay.
Because listen, we told y'all we was virgins, right? Like we were virgins when we got married, and obviously you would think like the honeymoon was like that time, like
just like the movies.
Number one, just to keep it 100, we were so tired after our wedding day, we didn't consummate our marriage on the first night, but we did honeymoon in Jamaica, right? So here's the thing about marriage: and this is from, we've coached a lot of couples, so whether you were a virgin or whether you weren't a virgin. In marriage, there's a natural assumption that sex is just free. It's going to be popping. You don't have it all the time. At least for me, I'm like thinking, oh my God, sex is going to be crazy all the time. Danielle had an expectation for sex as well.
I thought it was going to be like the movies.
It was romanticized. We just definitely thought it was going to be like the movies. And so, number one, it wasn't. At first, right? At first, we didn't know what we were doing, and it wasn't like that. But on the spiritual tip, we realized that remember how I said we came crawling into the finish line because we were, the lust was high, the temptation was high. We were burning, right? We were burning with lust. But then we got married, and what happened to us that we found that happened to other people is that lust, that like forbidden fruit lust that we have for each other. It subsided because now I had to love after her. And she was physically attractive, but the forbidden fruit of sin that drives so many people to fall is like removed in marriage.
Yeah.
And so all of a sudden it's like, well, why don't we have that same sinful desire? And so we really had to learn in marriage, sex is different. Why you have sex is different.
Yeah.
How you have sex is different. And this is important to call out because, as we know, there's three reasons for divorce. Top 3 reasons for divorce has to do with finance, communication, and sex that typically leads to some type of affair, right? And so one of the things that we had to learn early on in our marriage is we had to find our groove in our sexual romantic relationship because we didn't know anything. And a lot of husbands typically will say, and a lot of women are like, well, I don't know. He just wants it all the time. And he's always like, we got married. She doesn't want it anymore, right? And all these things. It's very important that you learn how to spiritually connect with your spouse, your husband or wife, and then learn how to love, learn their appetite. It's a process. So don't get discouraged if your romance is struggling at any season in your marriage. But just know that you need to do some praying and working and fasting to really understand how to love and lust after your wife, whether you're 1 year or whether you're 20 years and going through a different season of your physical relationship, your physical connection relationship. So just wanted to touch that before we transition into business.
Because
that was a real part of it.
That was an eye opener. Okay, that's good.
Yeah, we got married in May of 2001 on Cinco de Mayo, and it was such a great day. Got married in an old church and had our reception at a bed and breakfast, and it was just beautiful and simple and a perfect day.
I think about the time when we were in Venice and I didn't have the credit card, so we had enough money we had already got our ticket back to our hotel outside of the town, and we'd been married a month or so, and so here we are, newlyweds. This is also after I'd already lost the Italian phrase book soon after arriving in Italy.
I was so mad about that.
So really trying our marriage from the get-go in terms of saying, how much are you willing to trust each other, and how much are you willing to say, hey, you know what? Yeah, all these things that we think we need. What do we really need there? And so not to downplay a phrase book, I think it really would have been beneficial. But it's the finding yourself in a difficult situation, either without words to say what you need to say or money to pay. I mean, we had calculated things out with the money that we had on hand, and we got down to the end of it, and we're at our last meal there in town, and we calculated up, and we forgot to calculate in there's an extra service charge that they put on there, but it's not explicitly said. And so we were worried that it wasn't going to go through, and
we thought we were going to have to wash dishes in Venice, Italy,
without being able to explain how to do that because we didn't speak a lick of Italian,
and we didn't have the guidebook.
So I think the point of the story. So it is kind of silly that we're at that situation, but just to think about like those things that we think we have or think we need. What are we putting our trust in? And to say, wait a minute, we have to reframe how our best laid plans go awry, and then it's how do you respond and how do you move forward with those things, and either not give up hope or give up hope. So that was early on in our marriage.
We pushed off the wedding, and then in January again of 2018, we said, you know what, let's take another fast from each other for 7 days, and we both heard the Lord say, move forward in faith with the wedding. We didn't have, I didn't have a full-time job. I'm like driving, Lyft, and Uber at this time, like. I was waiting on some things, some gyms to open up. They hadn't opened up yet. Nothing. I wasn't really looking in my field for engineering yet. But we both heard move forward in faith. So we come together, move forward in faith. I take a hike. God gives me a date for the wedding.
Jesus.
And so I come back down and I say, honey, let's go for this hike together.
Takes me to this
I take it to their hike. And then the Lord confirmed her in her spirit. This was on a Saturday. We took this hike on a Saturday. And we both was jumping at the bottom of the mountain.
We get to get married.
We got a date. No money.
At all.
No money, no venue, nothing. We go to church the next day, and a woman walks up to us and says, hey, the Lord put this on my heart to just start sowing into your marriage, into your wedding. And gives us a check for $300. Just out of nowhere.
Vision. Provision. The Lord's hand has always provided for his will.
Yes.
Every single time.
And so, guys, from there, everything was paid for in the wedding. Our honeymoon was paid for completely. We had money left over. Mm-hmm. And so we ended up getting married July 27th. Now, the Lord just blessed us because we had been preparing for our son. Mm-hmm. And we got pregnant wedding night with little Isaiah. He's in the other room. And it was just a blessing, how beautiful, how all of that came together. And so we've been moving forward. And so Isaiah was born exactly 9 months later, 9 full moons later, because it was on the full moon. We got married on the full moon, and he came to being, and we came together, and we've had our share of trials and ups and downs since then, but we've persevered as a family. But our principle has been, where there's vision, there's provision.
Amen.
And to stay close to God all along the way. And so this last bit here is right after Isaiah was born, which is another miracle, because as I'm reading the scriptures, God says, you're going to have a son. This is before we knew we were pregnant, but I didn't know with Jenny. He said, you're going to have a son. And about a day later, I'm reading, he says, turn to the book of Isaiah, turn to the book of Isaiah. So I began to read the first chapter of Isaiah, which I never read the Old Testament like that. And he said, name him Isaiah. You're going to have a son, and name him Isaiah. So about 4 weeks later, we found out we were having a son. So he had a name.
Amen.
He had a name.
And I remember being like, that wasn't on my list. Isaiah wasn't on.
Yeah, it wasn't on mine either. But God began to show me the kind of man he was going to be. And so a few minutes later, after Isaiah was born, about 6 months later, he began to speak to me about, you're going to have another son, and to name him Elijah. And he began to show me all of these characteristics.
This was a year ago.
Yeah, all these characteristics about this little boy. And like, whoa, okay, who is this? What is he going to be doing on the earth? What kind of man he's going to be? And so when we got pregnant again,
just this last January, a couple months ago,
we just started speaking.
We just knew this is Elijah. This is Elijah John.
This is Elijah John. So Jeni had the same confirmation that it's going to be a boy as well. And then we got a confirmation. I came home one day and we found out it's a little boy. So we're living by faith, guys.
Absolutely.
Where there's vision, there's provision. Stay close to God. And a
lot of the decisions haven't, quote unquote, made sense.
Yeah.
They've been the leaps of faith. I think the last thing that I would share is during that engagement period, the Lord also revealed to us why he put us together.
Yes.
Your marriage will always have purpose.
Yes.
Your marriage will always be put together to accomplish something on this earth for the kingdom of God.
Yeah.
So remember, we met. How did we meet? At the business conference, health and fitness. I had a health and fitness company boot camp. He had an online health coaching business. I went into full-time ministry, laid that down. Remember, he quit. He laid down his business. He let go of some of his coaching things up there. And when we got engaged and we're working through, again, all this stuff, right? The Lord shows us why he put us together. He said freedom and healing.
Yes.
So in the last couple years, we have now been serving people together and created an online health transformation program for people. But we knew during that engagement period, this is why God put you together. And I will tell you, it keeps us grounded.
Yes.
It helps us understand what our values are, writing down our values for our family and where we're going. And it helps us make decisions that are in alignment with that vision and that purpose.
Yes.
But, and just one of the things that kind of just for us is like, a lot of times we don't let people try and say, oh, you guys need to, go on vacation. You guys need to do this. We're like, look, we're cool. We're fine. Sometimes we'll just be sitting on the couch. We'll both, he's sitting on one end, has his legs on me and we're on the phone or we're just talking.
He has her legs on me.
I do. Yeah. Sometimes it does. But I mean, so it's just like simple things like that. We aren't the type to have to be like, oh, look at us. We don't have to do it up for the gram.
We're like, we're really, honestly, we want to maximize our movements, maximize our moments, maximize our investment. And it's not based about like what other people think. A good example is on one Valentine's Day, I bought my wife a washer and dryer. I bought a washing machine and a dryer to do the laundry with at the house. And her girlfriend was like, ew. Who he think he is, man? What kind of man he is? He said about roses and diamonds. He could have took your wines and dined your shoes, Coach bag. Like that's all. But she was like, no, my husband told me he got sick and tired of me taking all of our clothes, paying by the pound. We got and paying and lugging that stuff while he's at work. She's like, that's not. I was like, there's no need for that. We can afford a washer. We can afford a dryer. We can afford the increase in electric and gas and water. Let's just get the appliances and we have it. Yeah. We still got them washers and dryers.
We sure do.
Them washers and dryers lasted longer than that movie, longer than that dinner, and probably longer than the relationships that her girlfriends was doing about. Oh, that was
y'all pray for me. I'm still working out some things. Sometimes I can be judgmental, but it's just a point. Like we really look at things like through a different mindset. It's not about like impressing other things. The only person I have to impress really is, Dad and her. Mm-hmm. If she cool with it, I'm cool with it, and everybody else, it's good.
Yeah, I remember that. Everyone was like, "He got you a washing machine," and I mean, they were offended for me. I was like, "What are y'all talking about?"
She's going on shopping sprees, and she's got shoes. So
yeah.
See, so what people don't understand is like, I'll come home with a pair of Jordans for her on May 22nd. There ain't nothing special about that day. Right. I just saw them. I want her to have it.
Exactly.
So she get it.
And that's one of the things.
Mess up our whole Christmas. Mess up our whole anniversary. Because by the time them days come, I'm supposed to buy something. I bought everything all year long.
Yeah.
My bad.
And I like that. And that's
the good part.
That's the thing. Like we're not bound by those special holidays. Of course we'll do things for each other like birthday whatever. But it's not like oh, Valentine's Day we gotta have this whole big grandiose thing. Oh, Christmas no. Like he said, May 22nd. Oh, here, babe. I saw this and I thought of you. Wow. Nice. So.
Yeah. I mean, but that's pretty, and it's just been pretty much consistent like that. It's us. Every day is a holiday. Yeah. Every day is an appropriate day to like show our appreciation and our love for each other. We don't need a special reason to shower each other with, affection. Same way, relationship with God is, He don't pick and choose a certain day to bless us, but He, in His timing, when it's appropriate, He shows us. And it's funny because how God operates, He knows exactly when He needs to move. It may not be my birthday, but I may be having a bad day,
right? And
He just says, "Keep going." He'll show me a bud from a blossom that's been flourishing, and He'll show me fruit. Somebody who I won't expect, it'll be like, "Thank you, you made a difference." Doesn't have to be anything special, and I just apply that same mentality how God deals with me in covenant. I just apply that same mentality with how I deal with my wife in covenant.
Yeah.
Tell a story about your dad. What he thought about me.
Oh.
Yeah, tell a story about your dad.
Oh, my dad. Yeah, my dad.
Nobody knows Dad. Don't watch this. Don't watch this.
So in my latter years in life, I was
making a note. Don't tag.
Consider myself a daddy's girl. Of course, growing up it was bumping heads, but now as we got older, I'm a daddy's girl. So when he, we went out to eat, and my dad, I don't remember exactly.
You know how women go to the powder room together? I was like, yeah, I gotta go to the bathroom. He's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna come with you. Like, men don't go to the powder room together, bruh.
That didn't happen.
No, that's how it happened. He followed me to the bathroom.
Oh.
Stalky, like daughter, like dad. He stalked me out to the bathroom.
Really?
And he was like, he said, you know what, Steve? I think you're a little arrogant.
He called him.
So what I did, I'm gonna give him a pass, because what I did is I didn't ask his permission to take his daughter's hand in marriage. I didn't get that green.
He just grabbed it.
I mean, she was good with it. So I don't know what you need your approval for, but anyway, nobody schooled me. Nobody was like,
right.
If you're going to marry her, you're supposed to ask for his mom's permission. But so he's like, I think you're really arrogant. He was kind of hit about that, and I said, listen, sir. I said, I don't mean any harm. I said, but you don't never have to worry about your daughter. I was like, because I'm not going to mess up my vertical relationship. So, and as I maintain my vertical, this horizontal is going to be fine. I said, I can't afford to mess her over, because that's going to mess up my relationship with God. And that's kind of like, that's how I've always been. I'm like, I'm not going to screw up my relationship with God. God's always been first. And that has been, I've had good jobs. I've lost good jobs. I've made good business moves. I've made bad business moves. I've bought wisely. I've bought poorly. But I always have kept God first. That has been the consistent thing. Yeah. I mean, and because of that, everything else works out, because I'm not going to mess up I'm not going to mess up my relationship with God. And because I maintain that, I really believe that's the reason why. That's how I learned how to treat her. The way that God is with me. Yeah. The way that God is with me. He's patient, long-suffering, loving, temperate. I'm the same way with her. I don't want God to yell at me when I screw up. So if there's something that she does that I don't think she did right, and vice versa, I don't fly off the handle. I mean, she's heard me fly off the handle with people, not my wife. So she knows.
Yeah.
She knows.
go there.
But because of the intimacy that we share, and I ain't talking about being nasty, I'm talking about the intimacy we share,
right.
The covenant that we have, the transparency that is like to the marrow. It doesn't have to, I don't do myself a service or her a service by going to a place emotionally that is going to be damaging to her.
Right.
So it's no point in that. And that just comes from knowing who God has placed in your life and loving them as yourself. Like I wouldn't want somebody to talk to me the way that I'm about to talk to you. So let me dial it back.
And make sure you let them know my dad loves him now. Loves him now.
I grew on him like fungus. I grew on him like a fungus.
So how are we building a life together? I mean, I guess I knew I wanted to marry this girl because, well, I think I knew early on because we had such similar value system or similar way of what we wanted to do in life. Like we both were committed to this area, this context, a way of living simply, like you had already bought this house that we're living in. And I thought that was really bold, buying this house in North Philadelphia in Kensington and walking to work, 4 minutes to work. Past a lot of open drug activity, and I just thought it was kind of like a really I admired you for that right off the bat when we first met. So I think because we both were intrigued and we liked each other's personality, I think that's what the dating was. It was like personality and like more like nitty-gritty stuff, because I already kind of knew this is the kind of person that I would want to marry, and it just kind of fit, all the stars aligned kind of thing. And so, so when we got married, that was fun. We did these fun gatherings. We actually did multiple gatherings because that's its own story, because we didn't want to, we knew a lot of people from different worlds, and we didn't want to make people from Philly fly to the wedding, because then different people that didn't have the money to do that wouldn't be able to go. So the wedding had to be in Michigan next to Amy's parents, because her dad is disabled and wanted it to be like down the street from her house. So so he didn't have to, with his mobility issues, it wouldn't be an issue. And so, we got to have a couple of gatherings for celebration, which is sort of fun.
I guess in terms of like deciding, should I marry this person? It felt like a big decision because I had such a fabulous single life.
Right.
And it felt like I was giving up a lot of freedom.
And this is a big issue for you, because you actually said it. You kept saying, I really enjoy my single life. Like you kept using the word fabulous. I have a very fabulous single life.
I was living with friends, and
in this very house,
independence. To do a lot of ministry together with people, kind of make my own decisions, and and also I saw a lot of.
See you next time on another episode of Love and Lifestyle
with different expectations, various levels of expectation, and then various levels of expectations either being exceeded or not being met. And so I just in my discernment process had to ask if this was a calling to get married, and then particularly to
me,
you,
right? Versus staying single and giving up, and getting to have the full life that you already had. Right?
But I liked you, so.
So you liked me enough to give up all that?
Yeah, don't you feel special?
I do feel special.
So yeah, well, I guess the options were to be single best friends, or to, I guess, yeah, do we make this commitment and build a life together and have a, you know, whatever family looks like together. So
yeah, so we did it. And
but I don't know, I don't remember exactly. Well, I knew you had a lot of pressure to propose or, you know, do that thing, and I was trying to help you by coming up with a plan to, you know, pretend that you were planning the surprise, but I wasn't on it.
Right. We were going to try to do it together, and we were going to, the Friday night youth event, we were going to try to do it in front of the youth, surprise that the youth were like, just to see everybody's reactions.
Well, just also, they don't always get to participate in a proposal party, so offering that
as a fun
experience.
But then and behind her back ended up getting some different people, and
everybody lied to me.
Yeah. we did it down the street, actually, at one of our friends' house. You know, it was about the same size of this house. Got like all these kind of people from different connections to our lives, mostly to Amy, to be there. And I got some of her girlfriends that prays with her
on a weekly
basis to help me plan it, and they helped lie too. And
they all lied.
And then so everybody was packed in this hot house, 70 some people, and then she came in and, you know, did the proposal, sang a song. So that was a fun thing. But I guess for me, the whole idea of building a life together, you know, I knew that I would be in some ways coming into her life here in this neighborhood, because I was living in the neighboring neighborhood. Sorry, just moved that. I was living in
he likes to do that. He likes to move everything out of his way, off the table.
Yeah, I was living in Hunting Park, and she was living here in Kensington. So I was kind of feeling like I'm sort of more joining your life. But the proposal party being down the street at a friend's house, that was kind of a fun glimpse of like, oh, kind of living in community in this neighborhood, and living and serving, and you know, you work down the street, so kind of like a more of a holistic life, sort of rooted in one place. And I was still working.
But I was doing the youth group in your neighborhood.
Right. And they're not that far apart. They're like less than 10 minutes drive, but I was still working and doing stuff in Hunting Park.
It was a long distance dating.
Long distance.
2.5 miles.
2.5 miles. But I do think that already still there was a sense of, you know, the alignment of the kind of the broader speaking, like the kind of life we wanted to build together, was already there. And yeah, I mean, it's clearly already obvious that we had this value for, can we live with neighbors, and, you know, can our spiritual life, our fun, our where we work, where we play, where we eat, all that stuff sort of be more integrated. And even though it wasn't fully integrated, then yeah, so